when you're actually studying these things, one of the lessons you get in economics is that it's trade, not aid, that helps lift areas. And I think one company that certainly shows how to do that is Glen Dimplex. And that leads us to our next speaker, who's Sean O Driscoll.
Lord Mayors, Ambassador, public representatives, ladies and gentlemen, I have been struck by two of the words in the theme for today, and that is opportunity challenge. And in looking at an opportunity, the single biggest challenge, particularly if you have a number of parties looking at that opportunity, is if you start out from a position that we're competitors, you're doomed to failure. So I would advocate for all of you today in your thought process, in looking at the opportunities that come up during the course of the day, don't look at yourselves as competitors, because there are many, many opportunities across this island where we're not competitors. And a real opportunity comes where you have two partners coming together, and they don't look at one and one becoming two, they look at it becoming three, or more optimistically, they will look at it becoming 5, 7, or indeed 9. And I want to give you an example of one of those opportunities in my short words this morning. Our interest in the theme of today is that, one, amongst our businesses, we're the largest electric heating company in the world. And what we're doing in that today is probably the most exciting technology we've ever been developing in the history of our group. And we're doing that here on the island of Ireland. Secondly, we operate across the corridor that you're going to be talking about today. Our group started out in Newry in 1973. We then acquired a bankrupt site in Dunleer in County Louth in 1979. And in 1994, we took over what was then an ailing and declining business in Portadown. And if I roll forward to 2008, when the great financial crisis really took off, our three businesses in Ireland were three traditional businesses. They were operating very much in silos. They were cooperating, but they were operating in silos. And I decided we'd take a very different approach. And I decided we'd set up a cluster of technology, looking at the whole renewable technology sector. And as you would do in situations like this, you don't put committees together. You get a small group of busy people and set about doing something. And since 2008, we have invested €40 million across our three facilities, making some of the finest technological products that our group has ever invented. And we saw the opportunity in 2008 to get 1 + 1 + 1 in our case, not to 3, but to 4. We're now at 9, heading for 11. And we've unlocked and continue to unlock opportunities that we would never have seen. So one of the areas where I believe your session today and the cross-border initiative of the mayors can learn from is use Glen Dimplex and what we have done as a template, operating across that corridor. And one of the areas where we don't compete as two jurisdictions is in the area of energy. Energy is a real issue. And we tend to look at energy quite differently to the way most do, because we look at it from a holistic point of view. There are 3 million homes on the island of Ireland approximately. 20% of those homes are in fuel poverty. And that means that more than 10% of their household income goes on paying the heating bills. The import bill of fossil fuels on this island approximates 8 billion, of which 40% goes in this building, your home, my homes, our commercial buildings. But the whole area of buildings consumes 40% of all of our energy, and approximately 30% of that is wasted. There is €1 billion that we can put to work in this economy if we go about looking at this and doing it differently. So it's a real opportunity. I think we think of energy in Ireland in again, a siloed way. And we tend not to focus, we tend, as I think, two jurisdictions to focus on our exports, and we tend not to focus on imports. We import €8 billion of fossil fuels into this island. And if I can use a football analogy, a good football team not only scores goals, but it makes sure it doesn't concede goals. And think of scoring as exports and importing as conceding. We concede a lot of goals. And I think Lord Mayor Quinn will forgive me, as an Arsenal supporter, leaking 6 goals to Chelsea probably makes the point. So I would say we need to look at energy in a very holistic way. It's been very topical in Ireland in the last number of weeks about the intergovernmental agreement between the Republic of Ireland and the United Kingdom that has run into some difficulty. And the question I would pose there was that agreement a holistic agreement, or was it just an export-import stroke agreement? And where did Northern Ireland play in those overall discussions and in that agreement? And that is where I think the opportunity is, where we're not competitors and where we can do things. And if we get the whole area of energy right across the full spectrum, it will be our shale gas moment. Like, why do you go drilling for shale gas and at the same time have the level of waste that we have in this country, and indeed in other countries? And yet we have the opportunity to create something very, very significant on the island of Ireland, not as competitors, but as partners, in developing and showcasing these technologies and creating very, very significant industries. So in conclusion, to come back to my example of, in our case, 1 + 1 + 1 not becoming 3, but heading for 11. As a result of what we were doing, we started working with a number of agencies across the corridor. And I'm talking about EirGrid and Sony in Northern Ireland, talking about the utility companies. And that was utilising a technology that we call quantum. And we call it quantum for a very good reason, because it's a major leap forward in technology. That in turn led to a telephone call that I would never have expected I would get. And that was early November 2012. I got a call from Martin Curley of Intel. And Martin said, "We hear that you're working on some very interesting technology. We're in the complementary area. Would you be interested in working with us?" And the conversation developed out of there and saying, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could put this together? So you have the largest foreign direct investor in Ireland, working for the first time with the largest indigenous manufacturing industry in Ireland, private sector working with public sector, and the commercial sides of our business then working with academia, and that brought University College Dublin Energy Research into our grouping. And that led us on to working at a project which we have named Internet, which is a play on the words energy and internet. And you will be hearing an awful lot more about this. And we are jointly working on a major submission for funding under the Horizon 20 project to Brussels, which will be submitted in May. That now in turn, in the last 4 weeks, has led to E.ON, which is the second largest electricity utility in Germany, Endesa, which is the second largest electricity industry in Spain, now approaching us to become involved in our grouping. And that's what I mean by 2 and 2 just doesn't come 4. It can become 6, it can become 8, it can become 9. But if you start out from the point of view of we're competitors, and you start to put up the roadblocks day one, you're doomed to failure. So I would encourage you at the very outset of your day, start on the basis that there are no roadblocks. I wish you all a very successful day and look forward to our discussion. Thank you very much.